Hey hunters! Welcome back to the only HXH audiobook cult on YouTube, triumphant face emoji. Today we're diving into Hunter's Dark Gift by Crying Mask. Took me multiple hours to translate and fix. Sue may be like for my suffering lol as always, check the description for the original author and fanfic. And check the community tab too, we're not bots, we actually post stuff there sometimes. If you enjoy the audiobooks, a like helps a lot, and of course, hit that sub button if you haven't already and officially become a hunter. Alright, that's enough from me. Let's dive in. Peace. Love y'all. Headphone emoji, blue heart emoji. Chapter 1 In this world, there is a place that has been forgotten by the world and is not even marked on any map, Meteor City. As the sun set, its afterglow slowly faded away. In a brick and stone house, unrenovated but spotlessly clean, a young boy of about 15 or 16 years old lay on a simple bed. He suddenly woke up and sat up. Am I really reborn? The boy stared at his palms in disbelief. Am I Li Yigong or Autm else? The boy questioned himself, muttering aloud. Li Yigong had originally been just an ordinary office worker on Blue Star. Before his rebirth, he lay in a hospital bed undergoing treatment for a severe illness. He knew full well that the treatment wouldn't restore his ability to walk, it could only prolong his life for a limited time. At the moment his life neared its end, he seemed to glimpse another world, a world steeped in darkness and cold, suffused with a blue-purple glow. As consciousness slipped away, his final thought was, I died before I could see that damn old thief update Hunter x Hunter. But he never expected to be reborn into the body of a boy named Autm else, inheriting all his memories. Autm else had lived in Meteor City for as long as he could remember. He regularly went out to scavenge resources and then bartered them with Basak, the manager of Block 7, for daily necessities. Just yesterday, he had fallen ill, severely, with a high fever that wouldn't subside, and had been bedridden the whole day. However, the Autm else who had woken up now was no longer the same person. He was Li Yigong from Blue Star. Having absorbed Autumn's memories, the reborn Li Yigong had a strong suspicion about the world he now inhabited. It was the world of Hunter x Hunter, the very one he'd been thinking about before he died. His rebirth left him both excited and anxious, because this world was incredibly dangerous, a stark contrast to the peaceful and stable Blue Star he had once lived on. According to what he remembered about Meteor City, here, even corpses could be turned into food. From now on, I'll be called Autm. As he spoke, Autm felt a gnawing hunger in his stomach. Clutching it, he immediately stood, turned, bent over with one hand on his belly and the other gripping the bed, muttering, Let's eat something first, fill up, and then go out to see the world tomorrow. He retrieved a bottle containing about 600 milliliters of clean water and a strip of bread over 20 centimeters long, half yellow, half black. These were all the food supplies Autm had. This was his ration for the day. He had stored it the previous night, intending to take it with him when he went out scavenging. But he hadn't expected to fall ill, and now he'd awoken in someone else's body. Just as Autm was about to lower the cover of the small secret compartment in the bed and reach for the food and water, he noticed 5 distinct finger marks on the wooden board he had grabbed. His entire right palm had turned pitch black, as though it were drenched in ink. What is this? In that moment, Autm forgot about eating. Instead, he stared wide-eyed at his palm. As the strange energy dissipated, the palm that had turned inky black quickly returned to its normal flesh tone. But Autm didn't feel relieved. Instead, he grew even more anxious. He had finally been given a second chance at life and didn't want anything mysterious hiding within his body. He needed answers, otherwise, he feared he might unknowingly die again. He wouldn't be able to eat or sleep until he figured out what had just happened. Recalling how he had triggered the appearance of the black substance, Autm suddenly clenched his hands into claws and thought, Come out, come out, come out. As he gathered energy in his hands, The thing that had retreated earlier emerged once more in his palm. Autumn's eyes widened, he didn't even dare blink. As he focused, the black mass slowly detached from his hand, forming into a marble-sized orb that floated just above his palm. Staring at the black orb, Autumn's vision shifted dramatically. The world around him transformed. He saw a realm filled with darkness and cold, shimmering with that familiar blue-purple glow. But this time, it was no illusion. He was truly seeing it. It felt like an eternity past, but it was only a moment. The black orb condensed and returned to his body. Autumn was left drenched in sweat, as if he'd undergone intense physical exertion. Who? Bent over and panting heavily, Autumn couldn't help but wonder. What is that place? It was a world invisible to the naked eye, yet ever present. It seemed to coexist with the real world, or perhaps it was a separate reality altogether. But Autumn had no time to think further. His body was exhausted and weakened by hunger. Even if a cow stood before him, he felt he could eat it whole. He quickly devoured the stored bread and drank the bottle of water. Though the bread was hard and unappetizing and the water had a slight odor, it was edible. It didn't fully satisfy him, but at least it alleviated the worst of his hunger. Lying back on the bed, Autumn continued thinking about the black energy. Was it Nen? Was that otherworldly realm related to his rebirth? Now that he had confirmed the black substance wasn't immediately harmful, he began planning to search for supplies tomorrow. Without food or water, he wouldn't last long. With those thoughts lingering in his mind, Autumn drifted into a deep sleep. Chapter 2 Before dawn broke, just as the horizon began to glow faintly, Autumn had already awakened from his deep sleep. After resting enough to recover most of his strength, he wiped the fatigue from his face and stretched his limbs. Then he opened the door and stepped outside. According to his memories, the place where he now lived was the western district of Meteor City, ruled by Okalis, a member of the Elders' Council. The entire western district was divided into 18 blocks, and he currently resided in Block 7. His objective for the day was simple: leave Block 7, head to the outer landfill, and search for usable materials to trade for food and water. This was the basic means of survival for ordinary civilians in Meteor City. Although it was still dim, Autumn's vision remained unaffected. He could clearly make out the surroundings. Soon, Autumn arrived at the entrance to Block 7. Beyond lay the landfill, a massive dumping ground. In Meteor City, anything discarded from the outside world was accepted: trash, weapons, corpses, even abandoned infants. Everything would be taken in by the residents, most of whom made a living by salvaging waste and recycling it. The entrance and exit of Block 7 also housed the district manager. Anyone wishing to leave had to pass through here. Because garbage had accumulated outside for over 1,000 years, the area was rife with bacteria and viruses. Without protective gear, one would become infected within an hour, fall ill, collapse, and never return. Residents had no personal protective suits and were wholly dependent on the block managers. To borrow one, they needed to pay a steep price. Upon returning, they had to hand over half of the day's haul as rental. If a person wanted to trade their collected materials for food and water, an additional third would be taken as a handling fee. So, after donning protective gear and surrendering half of the day's findings, only 2/3 of the remainder would be left to trade for daily necessities. Alternatively, a resident could choose to spend the night outside, but the cost of protective gear was calculated by day: half paid for 1 day, another half for 2 days, another half for 3 days, and so on. If someone failed to deliver sufficient resources, they would be forced to pay with their body. In Meteor City, when it came to that point, it signified the end of one's life. People, after all, were also considered food, precious meat to be harvested. Since Autumn had arrived early, he was the first to collect his protective suit. He even exchanged a few words with Juarez, the man in charge of issuing and recovering gear. Once registered, Autumn exited Block 7 in his suit and headed toward the newest landfill. After hours of hard labor, as the sun rose, Autumn had already gathered a decent collection of supplies. Most importantly, he'd found 5 cans of expired meat. At that moment, Autumn didn't care about the expiration date. He quickly found a secluded spot, opened a can, and used his hands to scoop out and devour the compacted meat. As his malnourished body absorbed the long-lost nourishment, it was as if a drought had been relieved by rain. His body greedily absorbed the available nutrients. While eating, Autumn felt his strength returning. The hunger that gnawed at him ebbed away, replaced by warmth and comfort. After devouring 3 cans, Autumn was just about to open the 4th when something smashed into his forehead. His vision blurred as he collapsed to the ground, his mind buzzing. "You dare to scavenge in my Uncle Yusu's territory? You got a death wish?" Lying on the ground, Autumn struggled to open his eyes. He could barely make out the figure of a man, unprotected and unrecognizable. The blow had not only left his head ringing, but his vision bloodshot, on the verge of bursting. He couldn't even cry out in pain, nor had he clearly heard what the man had said. As Autumn writhed in agony, a boot suddenly stomped down on his head, grinding his face into the filth. "Everyone on 7th Street knows this land belongs to my Uncle Yusu. You dare eat my canned meat? Then be ready to pay with your own flesh." Now recovering slightly, Autumn felt the full weight of the foot pressing on his skull. He reached out with his right hand and clutched the attacker's ankle, trying to pry it off. His palm turned pitch black, but strangely, the shadowy energy, potent enough to gouge a wooden board, had no effect on the man's leg. "Go back to 7th Street and you're dead." Ugh. Yusu's face twisted with rage. He viciously stomped on Autumn's head over and over, torturing him. Though none of Autumn's limbs were broken, his body was bruised and battered. Only when Autumn released his grip on Yusu's ankle did the man deliver a final kick, launching Autumn's head into the trash heap. Bang! Watching Autumn's limp body slump into the garbage, Yusu turned and left, seething. He didn't just take the remaining 2 cans, he took the emptied ones as well. Even empty cans had recycling value. At that moment, Autumn felt like every inch of his body had been shredded by knives. There wasn't a single spot that didn't throb with pain. He didn't care about Yusu's threats. He was too overwhelmed. Ah! Ah! Autumn groaned through gritted teeth, his face contorted in anguish, as he slowly pulled his head from the refuse. Each second dragged like an eternity. He longed to lose consciousness, to escape the torment, but he couldn't. He could only pray for the pain to end. Then, just as his limits were about to give way, his body emitted a whoosh, like dry wood igniting with gasoline. Chapter 3. Just after Autumn's body emitted a bulging sound, the intense pain abruptly vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief. His body suddenly felt light and relaxed, as if a tremendous weight had been lifted from his shoulders. When Autumn opened his eyes, he saw his entire body enveloped in a blue-purple aura. "Is this Nen?" Autumn was stunned speechless. In that instant, he was completely convinced he had indeed arrived in the world of Hunter x Hunter. The existence of Meteor City, and now his newly awakened Nen, left no room for doubt. As if guided by instinct, Autumn began to draw the energy cloaking his body inward. It flowed smoothly over his skin like water. Right now, Autumn had no mental space to think of anything else. He slowly reviewed everything he remembered about Nen. Nen, the life energy within the human body, can be trained and shaped into all kinds of supernatural abilities, depending on the user's will. Its usage begins with 4 foundational principles: Ten, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu. Upon these are built advanced techniques such as Gyo, In, En, Shu, Ko, Ken, and Ryu. Those who master Nen are often called enhancers, manipulators, conjurers, and so on, depending on their natural affinity. What struck Autumn now was that his aura wasn't the usual transparent energy. It glowed a distinct blue-purple, likely a result of that strange black substance within his body. In fact, he was right. The aura flowing from him was directly tied to the mysterious black energy residing inside him. Without that black substance, he would have likely perished during the violent process of Nen baptism. Baptism, the process of forcibly awakening Nen through exposure to another's aura, is an extremely dangerous method. If the recipient's body can't withstand the external pressure, they may die from pain, lose control of their aura, or suffer permanent physical damage. Only a rare few survive intact, or awaken through gentler methods, typically those with remarkable innate potential who awaken Nen through dedicated training. In Autumn's case, during the earlier fight, his hands had been covered in the black substance. When he grabbed Yusu's ankle, the aura wrapping Yusu's body prevented any damage. That black energy came into contact with Yusu's Nen, and was tainted by it. When Autumn lost strength and let go, both Yusu's aura and the black substance returned to Autumn's body, spreading rapidly throughout it. That alone wouldn't have been enough for a full awakening. The final push was Yusu's last brutal kick, which sent Autumn's head crashing into the garbage heap, saturated with Yusu's Nen. If this had played out normally, Autumn, given his average potential, would have either died or become mentally crippled from the overload. But that black substance again came to his rescue. When Yusu's Nen invaded his body, the substance surged to intercept and absorb it completely. This triggered an involuntary opening of all his aura nodes, and from there, Autumn's blue-purple Nen was born. More than 30 minutes passed, but Autumn hadn't forgotten Yusu's parting threat. The thrill of awakening was soon tempered by the harsh reality: Yusu hadn't killed him outright for one specific reason: the protective suit Autumn was wearing. Not because it offered powerful defense, but because it belonged to the manager of Block 7. If Yusu had killed Autumn, he would have been responsible for returning the protective gear and surrendering half of the salvaged goods on Autumn's behalf. And if he didn't, the manager would intervene, investigating and executing the killer. This punishment was known as flesh payment. This rule wasn't set by the Block 7 managers to protect the weak. It was a strict Meteor City policy, enforced by the Elders' Council, to safeguard their own assets. Now that Autumn had awakened his Nen, he understood clearly, this wasn't the right time to seek revenge. His top priority was to gain control over his aura. If he returned to Block 7 in his current state, Yusu might finish what he started. Seeking revenge now would be foolish. He had no idea how long Yusu had been a Nen user or what type of abilities he had. Still clad in his protective suit and nursing his wounds, Autumn left Yusu's territory and moved to a more isolated area among the overturned waste piles. According to Autumn's knowledge, Nen users didn't need protective gear to walk through contaminated zones. Their aura, when properly controlled, shielded them from toxins and disease. Even so, Autumn chose not to remove his suit. The stench in this place was overwhelming. As for Nen users like Yusu who wandered without suits, they likely did it just to avoid having to hand over half their findings to the block managers. Autumn, though freshly awakened, instinctively grasped the basics of 10. But now was no time for passive practice, his life was on the line. He needed to familiarize himself with controlling his aura. It was the only way to protect himself. Having eaten 3 cans of meat earlier, Autumn had regained enough stamina for focused training. Now seated cross-legged, he prepared to concentrate on learning Ren, the second fundamental principle of Nen. Chapter 4. Ren is a technique that explosively increases the aura output that has been stabilized through 10, manifesting as a sudden burst of energy from within the body. The most visible example was the intense aura surrounding Autumn's body during his awakening, though at the time, it had been uncontrolled and unstable. Ren. Seated in silence with eyes closed, Autumn suddenly shouted low and opened his eyes. Instantly, the aura wrapped around his body surged outward, forming a blue-purple halo of energy that flared around him like fire. However, Autumn could only sustain Ren for about 20 seconds before his aura faltered and the state collapsed entirely. Who? Autumn panted heavily, exhausted. 20 seconds, that was his current limit. Suddenly remembering something, Autumn extended his right hand, fingers curved like a claw. In response, the black substance within his body condensed into a small black orb, floating in his palm. Staring intently at the orb once more, Autumn glimpsed that other realm for the third time. He began to suspect that this mysterious substance originated from the alternate world. During his passage through time and space, when he was reborn, something inexplicable had bound this alien matter to him. That would explain why he could use the orb to peer into that otherworldly dimension. Time passed quickly. Half a day went by. The sun now beat down at its highest intensity. After hours of training with Ren and experimenting with the black orb, Autumn had made little progress with the 4 major principles of Nen. He could only barely manipulate his aura. But he made one critical discovery: he figured out how to control the black substance. The strange matter inside him was volatile and malleable, capable of shifting shape at will. He could form it into a sphere, a stick, or even a small dagger, entirely through thought. Physical gestures weren't necessary. Most astonishing of all was its destructive power. For instance, when he placed the orb on the pile of garbage beneath him, if left uncontrolled, it could begin erasing the material below. Yes, erasing, not destroying. It didn't just break things, it annihilated them, consuming them into non-existence. This sparked a new thought in Autumn: how could he increase the amount of this matter? Right now, he only possessed a marble-sized quantity. But if he had more, far more, who in this world could stop him? Autumn stood up again and looked at the hovering orb. Black substance doesn't sound right. I'll call it dark matter from now on, he murmured. And that world it comes from. Let's call it the dark world. That seemed fitting. Matter from the dark world, dark matter. To deal with the threat from Yusu, Autumn saw dark matter as a potential trump card, his key to turning the tables. In Meteor City, scavenging the landfill wasn't limited to digging for leftovers. If you were willing to take the risk, you could also steal from others. Even if they wore protective suits, even if they died in the process, no one cared, as long as the aggressor was prepared to pay the price. Yusu, however, had been unwilling to pay that price. He'd allowed Autumn to awaken and gain power, rather than finish him off. But to steal from others, you needed strength. Otherwise, you'd be the one left dead and stripped. Robbery in the landfill was the domain of those who didn't wear protective suits. Why? Because they were strong enough not to need them. Their fists did the talking. Didn't like it? Fight them. And now, Autumn was ready to do just that. He had no time left to scavenge slowly. The only option was to rob others of their supplies and trade them in for food and water. Usable food wasn't found every day. The only reliable way to get it was by trading with the block managers. Soon, Autumn, careful to avoid Yusu's territory, set his eyes on a group of 4 people in protective suits. They gathered a fair haul, enough to secure one person's rations for at least 2 days, even after paying the rental cut. Autumn didn't try to hide. He walked directly toward them. In Meteor City, scavenging teams were usually composed of 2 or more. Solo scavengers were either supremely confident, or rejected by everyone else. The former were feared. The latter were ignored. In the past, Autumn had been the latter, weak, unwanted, a lone searcher. You needed strength to not only gather resources but to keep them. Even teammates could turn on you during the return trip. Just like now. One member of the 4-man team, tasked with guarding the supplies, stood up as soon as he saw Autumn approaching. "This is our turf. Get lost," he shouted. His yell also alerted his 3 teammates, who came running back, exactly what he intended. Among the 3 who returned, one stood out, a tall man who seemed to be the leader. Seeing Autm approach silently, he barked, "Who are you? We've claimed this area. Get lost, now." He pointed a wooden scavenging stick at Autm. He knew the rule: solo scavengers were either predators, or prey. And this guy had scars on his suit, fresh ones. Clearly, he'd been in a recent fight. Yet he carried no supplies. Had he lost them to someone stronger? Or was this his first attempt to steal, and they were the chosen targets? Either way, the tall man wasn't about to give up the resources they had worked so hard to gather. Chapter 5. If Autm hadn't been wearing protective clothing, the four men would have remained cautious. But the suit made him seem unthreatening, outside their range of concern. "Give me enough to exchange for 2 days' worth of food and water, and I'll leave immediately," Autm said sternly, standing about 20 meters away. The four scavengers exchanged glances. One pointed his stick at Autm and shouted, "Kill him." With that, all four charged toward Autm in coordinated fashion. Autm had expected this. There was no way they'd just hand over supplies to a stranger on demand. A fight was inevitable. Though Autm had never robbed anyone before, neither in his old life as a model young man nor as the former, weaker Autm, he had made that demand to bolster his courage and familiarize himself with the process. As the four closed in, Autm immediately struck back. Empowered by his awakened Nen, he possessed physical strength, speed, and reflexes far beyond the average person. Unless they had firearms, which they didn't, they couldn't match him. Despite lacking formal combat training, his aura-wrapped body gave him a major edge. The leader swung a wooden stick at him, but to Autm, it moved like a turtle. Dodging to the right, Autm delivered a punch to the man's chest, sending him flying. He then unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks on the others, dropping all three to the ground before they could react. "Come at me again, and I'll kill you." Autm glared down at them. A black, 20-centimeter-long needle appeared in his hand. His intent to kill was clear: if they made another move, he wouldn't hesitate. "You win." "Cough," the leader said helplessly. He understood their position clearly. The four of them had been utterly crushed. Autumn's strength was on another level. "Captain, ah!" cried the supply guard, trying to speak, but before he could finish, Autm launched the black needle into his shoulder, boring a bloody hole through it. The man screamed in pain. "I won't repeat myself. Next time, it'll be your head." The needle retracted back into Autumn's hand as if pulled by invisible strings. His strength, and his eerie weapon, shocked the four scavengers. "Understood," muttered the leader, avoiding Autumn's gaze. Without another word, Autm stepped past them, gathered the majority of their supplies, used his dark matter to create a long black thread to tie them up, slung it over his shoulder, and walked away. He didn't even glance back. "Captain, we're just going to let him go?" the injured man asked, hatred in his eyes. "Toes, remember this: unless you have the strength to fight back, don't provoke him if you want to live. The seventh block is going to be chaotic for a while. Stay out of trouble." Though anger burned in the captain's eyes, he knew there was nothing they could do for now. "Got it, Captain," the others replied. But none of them would forget the supplies taken by Autm that day. After traveling back, Autm returned to Block 7. He handed over half the supplies and exchanged the rest for food and water. In total, he obtained enough to last for 3 days. Meteor City had a massive population, over 10 million, and Block 7 of the Western District was home to more than 100,000 people. Despite that, there were many vacant houses. After making his exchange, Autm didn't return to his old home. Instead, he found an abandoned house on the outskirts of the block and moved in. He had no plans to return to his former residence, not while Yusu remained a threat. Until he was strong enough, he would avoid confrontation and stay hidden. The new location was remote and less likely to expose him. Autumn didn't bother cleaning much. He didn't know how long he'd stay. After eating another full meal, he resumed practicing then. It was his only real defense. Still less than 2 days into his rebirth, Autumn hadn't yet grasped the full scope of this world. Having died once, he now truly valued the chance to live. As the sun set and day turned to evening, the scavengers of Block 7 returned from their trips. Among them were Yusu, who had brutally assaulted Autumn that morning, and Toes, who'd had his shoulder pierced and his group's supplies stolen. What Yusu had said that morning hadn't been idle talk. He was now stationed at the Block 7 entrance, waiting for Autumn to return. The residents passing by gave Yusu and his group a wide berth. With more than a dozen men at his side, no one dared to interfere. Yusu commanded a total of 27 subordinates. They now scanned the face of every returning scavenger under his orders, searching for Autumn. Most residents didn't speak up, but their frustration showed. Still, they didn't dare challenge Yusu. Those who had tried in the past were already dead. Yusu remained standing. Everyone in Block 7 knew of his strength. He was one of the few who ventured out without a protective suit, and returned unscathed. He'd clawed his way to the top through sheer physical might. His power was feared, and respected, by all. Chapter 6. As the night deepens, the sun's afterglow has completely disappeared. Boss, the man you're talking about hasn't come back. Perlov, Yusu's right-hand man, cautiously approached Yusu, who was sitting down. He was afraid that Yusu would lose control and mistakenly think he'd failed, resulting in a slap or a beating. And Yusu did just as expected, he slapped Perlov on the head. Pa! But Yusu didn't hit him hard. Afterward, he shouted, "Any news from Rafe? Boss, you're looking for me. Speak of the devil." As soon as Yusu asked about Rafe, Rafe appeared behind him and responded. "Have you found out the news?" As another capable assistant of Yusu, Rafe could tell from his expression that Yusu was boiling with rage. Without daring to hide anything, Rafe said, "There is news. The man you mentioned is called Autumn. He returned at noon today." Okay. Autumn, right? How dare you come back early? Do you think I won't be able to find you? Let's go. Rafe, you lead the way. I must kill that guy tonight, otherwise, people will think that I, Yusu, am easy to bully. After hearing the news about Autumn, Yusu suddenly stood up and laughed angrily. In Block 7, anyone who dared to challenge me, Yusu, has already died. And this Autumn will be no exception. Led by Rafe, Yusu and a group of more than 20 people rushed straight to Autumn's previous residence, but they found no trace of him. Find him, even if you have to turn the entire 7th Street block upside down. Looking at the empty house, Yusu immediately realized that Autumn had moved. Yes, boss. The 20-some men behind Yusu responded in unison. You're a bunch of rubbish. Hurry up and find him. Yusu turned and roared at his subordinates. Immediately, they scattered like birds and beasts, fanning out to search for Autumn. Meanwhile, Autumn, who had been training all afternoon, stopped when he saw darkness setting in. With no light or candle, he gazed at the encroaching shadows and sighed softly. Well. Although he hadn't seen them directly, he was sure that Yusu must be looking for him by now. This was Meteor City, a place where the strong prey on the weak. What Autumn needed to do was survive at all costs. Fortunately, he'd anticipated this and returned at noon. But Autumn also knew he couldn't hide for long. He lacked sufficient food and water and would be forced to reappear once he finished his supplies. He could reach the resource area outside without using the 7th Street block's main entrance, but he still had to go through the management office to exchange food and water. Thinking of this, Autumn rested briefly and then resumed practicing Nen. He could only race against time now, hoping to grow stronger before Yusu found him. It wasn't that he hadn't considered leaving the 7th block for another. After all, he was now a Nen user. But Audm knew that relocating to another block required approval, from both the manager of the 7th block and the managers of other blocks willing to accept him. While Meteor City accepted everything, the Elders Council had established many rules to ensure their interests weren't compromised and their authority remained intact. 2 days passed. Audm stayed hidden and trained for 2 days before vanishing from the 7th block like a ghost. Yusu's men searched desperately for Audm. Meanwhile, most residents of Block 7 had learned that Yusu was hunting for him. Even if many didn't know what Audm looked like, that didn't stop them from paying attention. Some watched to see how long Audm could avoid detection, while others waited for Yusu to become a laughingstock. At this point, Audm looked at his nearly depleted food supply with worry. The food, originally meant to last 3 days, had been consumed in 2.5, despite Audm's attempts to ration it. In those 2 days, aside from training, he noticed that his appetite had grown. He simply couldn't stretch his supplies for the full 3 days. Simultaneously, Audm realized his body had grown stronger. Perhaps it was an illusion, but his strength, physique, speed, and reaction time had all significantly improved. After 2 days of practice, Audm had initially mastered the art of Ren, but compared to the other basic technique he had learned, Zetsu, his proficiency was limited. Perhaps it was due to the environment, or some other reason, but it had been surprisingly easy for Audm to learn Zetsu. Put simply, Zetsu is a technique to conceal one's aura and restore physical strength quickly. Practicing Ren made him extremely tired, so after finishing Ren, Audm would use Zetsu to recover and hide his presence from those outside. Now, Audm looked at the less than 300 milliliters of water left in his bottle. Having grasped the basics of Nen, he decided it was time to test his Nen category. To determine which category one belongs to, Audm knew 2 methods: personality-based judgment or the water divination method. Judging by personality was unreliable for him, so he chose the most intuitive, the water divination test. The method was simple. Prepare a glass of water, place a leaf on its surface, and inject your aura. The reaction would reveal your Nen category. Chapter 7. Audm still remembered that the Nen system was divided into 6 major categories: enhancement, transmutation, emission, conjuration, manipulation, and specialization. Each category exhibits different effects during a water divination test. Enhancement: the volume of water increases and overflows the cup. Transmutation: the taste of the water changes. Emission: the water changes color. Conjuration: crystal-like particles appear in the water. Manipulation: the floating leaf moves. Specialization: any result that doesn't fall into the other 5 categories. However, Audm had no leaves around him, making it impossible to perform a complete water divination test. But the test wasn't entirely impossible, it just might result in some deviation. Additionally, Audm had planned to perform another test later. Even if this one failed, he could simply try again. He cut the water bottle in half and placed it on the ground, then extended his hands and infused the water with his aura. As his Nen flowed into the cup, an unusual phenomenon began. A small black sphere gradually formed in the water and grew larger over time. Simultaneously, the water began to increase and overflowed from the cup. Is this a specialist ability with enhancer traits? Seeing the results, Audm was inwardly astonished. He knew that specialist-type abilities often leaned toward one of the 5 other categories. Just like Krolo Lucifer, the leader of the Phantom Troop. His ability, Skill Hunter, was a specialist ability that leaned toward conjuration. Now, Audm realized that his Nen ability belonged to the specialization category but was leaning toward enhancement. As the black sphere filled the base of the cup and ceased growing, Audm stopped infusing aura. The black sphere vanished, but the overflowed water and damp ground confirmed the result of the test. With this, Audm not only identified his Nen category but also gained insight into the phenomenon it produced. After thinking for a bit, inspiration struck. He began envisioning how to develop his own Nen ability. Just 2 days ago, he had been wondering whether it was possible to increase the total amount of dark matter. The black sphere that had just expanded in the cup gave him an idea. Together with the overflowing water, Autumn conceived the Nen ability he wished to create. As a specialist, Autumn was unique in that he immediately began constructing a Nen ability after identifying his category. Creating a specialist Nen ability is both the hardest and the easiest. It relies most on one's inspiration and imagination. To develop a Nen ability, one must utilize the concept of Hatsu, the release of aura based on personal will. The phrase "win by momentum, I stay still, the enemy retreats" reflects this principle. Hatsu is the essence of Nen techniques, allowing users to channel their aura into personalized, powerful abilities. The clearest form of Hatsu is the manifestation of one's unique Nen ability. In all of Hunter x Hunter, the most powerful guidance given for developing an ability is, follow your heart. For Autumn, who had only recently mastered Ren, it had been just 3 days since he awakened his Nen and already, inspiration had struck. Follow your heart. After meditating for more than an hour, Autumn, inspired to create his own Nen ability, finally settled on its name. A gift from the dark world. In his mind, the dark matter inside his body originated from the dark world. To increase its quantity, he had to connect to that realm. By injecting his aura into the dark matter and sending it into the dark world, he believed he could receive a gift in return, an increase in dark matter within his body. As the quantity of dark matter grew, Autumn imagined his entire body would be enhanced. Physique, strength, speed, and reflexes would all improve. With that in mind, a ball of dark matter appeared before him. Autumn cupped it in his hands and poured his aura into it. "Come, gift from the dark world," Autumn called out in his heart. But dreams are beautiful, reality is harsh. His plea was rejected. Before he could send his aura into the dark world, the dark matter sphere disintegrated and returned to his body. Autumn's first attempt at manifesting his Nen ability had failed. But as the saying goes, shame leads to courage. Facing setbacks head-on is a man's way. Autumn didn't abandon his ability just because of one failure. He felt that once it was developed, the benefits would be immense. Moreover, once he possessed enough dark matter, Yusu would no longer pose a threat, and he could stop hiding. 3 hours passed. Despite repeated failures, Autumn refused to give up. Instead, he realized that his issue lay in insufficient control over his aura. He also needed to multitask. When injecting aura into the dark matter, he had to simultaneously maintain stability to prevent its collapse. After another failed attempt, Autumn collapsed to the ground, utterly exhausted. His body was drained of strength, and he didn't want to move. Lying flat on his back, he quickly used Zetsu to speed up his recovery. Staring at the ceiling, he grinned silently. He was confused. He didn't know why he had been reincarnated into this world, only to be hunted before even adapting to it. Coming from a peaceful era, he still couldn't fully adjust to the harsh life of this new reality. Chapter 8 was an author's note. So, Chapter 9-3 days. Autumn had hidden for 3 whole days. During these 3 days, Yusu flew into a rage daily because his men couldn't find Autumn. "Trash, all of you are trash. It's been 3 days. You've made me wait 3 whole days and still haven't found a single person. What use are you to me?" More than 20 men under Yusu, gathered in the housing area they had taken over, were now being cursed out mercilessly. The first to be scolded were his 2 most capable men, Perlov and Rafe. The group cowered under Yusu's wrath like quails, not daring to make a sound. No one dared to provoke Yusu at this moment. "I'm giving you one last day. If you still can't find him, I'll kill you all." Yusu's subordinates trembled in fear. They knew that if Autumn wasn't found by today, Yusu would absolutely go through with his threat. To be fair, Yusu's men felt wronged too. The 7th Street district was vast, and they were only a team of 20-something men. It wasn't easy to locate Autumn among such a large population. All they could do was guard the entrances, exits, and the district management office. After all, no one could survive long without food and water. Yet, 3 days passed, and Autumn never appeared. That afternoon, however, Autumn had already resurfaced, at the landfill. But instead of going through the guarded main exit, he had scaled the barrier surrounding 7th block. He wasn't wearing protective clothing. Having awakened his Nen, Autumn no longer needed protective gear, which was why Yusu's men didn't spot him. Overhead, a giant vulture circled. These birds were among the few sources of meat in Meteor City, besides humans. Many had tried to bring them down, but few had the means to target such large birds flying high in the sky. Unfortunately for the vulture, today it had encountered Autumn. A long black needle formed in Autumn's hand. He hurled it upward like an arrow from a bow. It flew toward the vulture soaring more than 40 meters above. Scree! The bird let out a sharp cry before plummeting headfirst. Its fall startled its companions and drew the attention of nearby scavengers. A bird suddenly dropping from the sky was impossible to ignore. Now that Autumn could control dark matter outside his body, the range was limited to about 100 meters. The further it extended, the weaker his control. Beyond 100 meters, he would lose control entirely. Catching the vulture he had just killed, Autumn turned to leave. He had no intention of interacting with others and risk exposing himself. But he'd already attracted attention. The vulture fell? Ha ha ha. We're eating bird meat tonight. Not far away, a bald man with 3 deep claw-like scars on the right side of his face rushed over laughing at the fallen vulture. Just as Autumn was about to turn and leave, the scarred man blocked his path. Kid, drop the vulture. That's mine. He claimed ownership of the bird immediately but didn't attack, yet. It was clear he noticed Autumn, like him, wasn't wearing protective clothing. Autumn slightly raised his head, looked at the scarred man, and asked, "Who are you?" Though Autumn hadn't moved, the tension in his muscles and the flow of aura around him made it obvious he was ready for a fight. I'm Audrey. This land belongs to me. Drop the vulture, and I'll let you walk away. Otherwise, I'll kill you and eat you instead. Audrey, a Nen user who had claimed this area, operated alone, unlike Yusu, who commanded many subordinates. Though Audrey didn't prohibit others from foraging here, he had his own rule: anyone who entered his territory had to surrender a portion of their finds. Naturally, he saw the vulture as his. To him, Autumn was picking a fight, challenging his power, his rule, and his pride. Unfazed by Audrey's threats, Autumn stood his ground. Try me. I think you'll be the one I eat. After studying Autumn's face, Audrey's expression shifted in realization. It's you, Autumn else. I didn't expect it. Yusu has been looking for you for 3 days without success, and now I run into you here. You're dead. Go to hell. With that, Audrey launched his attack. In the 7th block, aside from the supervisors appointed by the Western Elders Council, few people had awakened their Nen. It made sense that Audrey and Yusu would know each other. In total, there were only a handful of Nen users in the 7th block. Now, Autumn was among them. Audrey recognized Autumn due to the commotion Yusu had caused over the past few days in his search. Here in Meteor City, conflict erupts easily and often. The law is simple: the strong take everything. Power defines survival. Since Audrey had already attacked, Autumn had no intention of backing down. He dropped the vulture and lunged at Audrey. Audrey might have been arrogant, but he had the strength to back it up. Autumn, who acted the moment Audrey attacked, immediately struck with his fist. Bang! Their fists clashed violently, releasing an explosive wave of aura. The force of their blows created shockwaves, radiating outward from their position. Rah! Audrey roared, pouring more strength into his next punch. Chapter 10. Autumn was knocked back 7 or 8 meters by Audrey's outburst. At the same time, Audrey, having gained the upper hand, became even more aggressive and charged at Autumn, as if he wouldn't stop until Autumn was beaten to death. Powerful punches rained down on Autumn, who could only defend for the time being. With his arms raised and body slightly hunched, he protected his head from being struck. Bang 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 bang. Each of Audrey's punches landed with crushing force, creating sharp impact sounds as they slammed into Autumn's body. In this moment, the more he was hit, the calmer Autumn became. Just as Audrey's right fist was about to connect with Autumn's left forearm again, dark matter within Autumn's body shifted, forming a thin, round, shield-like film over his skin and blocking Audrey's strike. At the same time, Autumn countered. He swung his left fist out, striking Audrey's right bicep. Then, lowering his stance into a crouch, Autumn dodged Audrey's left hook, letting his nen explode from within and landing a solid punch to Audrey's chest. Bang! This time, Audrey was the one sent flying. As he was airborne, Autumn pressed forward and launched a follow-up attack. With Audrey's guard wide open, the dark matter on Autumn's left hand shifted into a blade-thin projection, like a cicada's wing, and he struck upward with a piercing punch. Ah! Blood spattered as Audrey screamed. Fortunately, he reacted just in time, taking a half-step back and narrowly avoiding a fatal blow. Even so, a long gash stretched from Audrey's right abdomen to his left shoulder. His chest was torn open, and he looked miserable. Though his bones were intact, the wound ignited a fury within him. Staggering away from Autumn's range, Audrey snarled, "This is my only piece of clothing, and you dared to tear it. Go to hell." With that, Audrey rushed Autumn again, this time not for revenge over injury, but over his shredded clothes. His nen surged as his fury peaked. Facing this frenzied charge, Autumn didn't retreat. He unleashed his aura with equal intensity. They both knew, this was a death match. Their aura condensed around their fists as they clashed once more. Bang! Time seemed to freeze. In the next moment, Autumn was hurled backward again by Audrey's overwhelming force. But Audrey didn't pursue, because his heart had been pierced. Clutching his chest in agony, Audrey collapsed. At that moment, Autumn, who had been knocked down for the second time, felt like his right arm was broken. His back had slammed into a trash heap, causing him to cough up blood. After a few moments, Autumn pulled himself from the garbage. He looked toward Audrey, now motionless, and coughed. Cough cough cough. At the same time, a sphere of dark matter flew out from Audrey's body and entered Autumn. It turned out that during their second clash, Autumn had pushed beyond his limits and mastered the ability to multitask, controlling Nen while mid-battle. At that critical moment, Autumn had shaped the dark matter into a long needle, piercing Audrey's heart. When he was knocked away, the needle inside acted like a blender blade, tearing Audrey's heart to shreds, killing him from the inside. After rising and retrieving the vulture, Autumn prepared to leave. But suddenly, several figures in protective suits appeared, fanning out to block his path. Grouped in pairs and trios, they stared at Autumn, then at Audrey's corpse, terror in their eyes. Autumn glared at them, his eyes sharp and cold. "What, are you here to steal the vulture from me too?" The group recoiled in fright. One young man, standing alone on the far left, mustered his courage and replied, "Yes sir, don't misunderstand. I came only because I heard the noise." Of course, that was only part of the truth. Most of them had been drawn by the sight of the vulture falling from the sky. "What's your name?" Autumn asked suddenly. "My lord, I'm Cage." Though Cage's face was calm, Autumn could see excitement flickering in his eyes, the windows to his soul. "He's yours," Autumn said flatly, gesturing to Audrey's body. "Thank you, sir," Cage replied, barely able to contain his joy. Autumn smiled faintly and left the landfill. Once Autumn was gone, Cage burst into manic laughter and walked toward Audrey's corpse. Cage was ambitious, self-aware, and had the strength to match. It was his ambition that had made him step forward just now. He wasn't yet a Nen user, but through his own means, he had learned of its existence. He also knew the power gap between Nen users and ordinary people was immense. Audrey was a Nen user. For Autumn to kill him, he too had to be one. And Cage desperately wanted to become one himself. Some among the onlookers, including Cage, had already recognized Autumn. After all, Yusu had been making a scene in the 7th block for days, loudly searching for Autumn else. But Cage had remained silent, because he had a plan. He wanted to become Autumn's subordinate, and in doing so, learn how to awaken Nen. Hunters. Cult break time. Just wait 5 seconds and we can keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Done. Hope you're enjoying the new fanfic, let's keep going. Chapter 11. Get out of here, this place will belong to the gentleman from now on, and the rules will not change. You could say that Cage was just taking advantage of another's power, but he had already placed his hopes on Autumn. He came over even though he knew Autumn was in trouble. Don't ask why, the reason is that he doesn't think Autumn, who could kill Audrey, would die at the hands of Yusu. Now, using Autumn's name and helping Autumn take over the territory left behind by Audrey is Cage's token of allegiance to Autumn. Cage, do you want to keep it all for yourself? At this moment, a man with long hair tied in a ponytail stepped forward from the crowd. Haha, Baru, it's not that I look down on you, but do you have the guts to rob? Cage responded calmly. Do you have the ability? You won't know until you try it. Before Cage finished his second sentence, Baru rushed at him, and the 3 men at his side attacked Cage together. 5 minutes later, Cage, disheveled but standing, surveyed more than 20 people lying defeated around him. In addition to Baru and his 3 lackeys, other bystanders had jumped in, but all were beaten by Cage. Cage strode over to Baru, crushed his head with his foot, and said, "Remember this, from now on, the adult just now has final say here. I know some of you recognized who that adult was, but who dares spreads nonsense?" His tone wasn't pure menace. Having spoken, Cage hoisted Audrey's body and left for the entrance to Block 7. In Meteor City, corpses are high-quality meat, but the corpse of a Nen user like Audrey is even more valuable. Although Autumn left the scene, he did not go far. He had watched Cage depart with Audrey's corpse. Once he was clear of view, Autumn turned back and stayed in the landfill. He had 2 reasons: 1, he needed time to recuperate, 2, the landfill's pathogens couldn't infect him. The taste was unpleasant, but better than dying. From the battle with Audrey, Autumn gained a rough measure of his current strength. Maybe he was weaker than Yusu, but not by much. That was good news. If he could train enough, he wouldn't need to fear Yusu. The next day, after a night in the landfill, Autumn's wounds from the fight with Audrey had mostly healed. He also discovered that the dark matter in his body, or whatever Nen-like phenomenon it truly was, accelerated his self-healing. Just as he considered finding Cage again, Yusu, full of anger, approached him. 9 times out of 10, life doesn't go as planned, and today is one of those times. Last night, Baru returned to Block 7 badly beaten. He sought out Yusu and revealed that Autumn had appeared in the landfill at dawn, and that Audrey had been killed by Autumn. His loyalty earned him Yusu's favor, and he became one of his subordinates. Now Yusu had come here in force, determined to trace Autumn. When Yusu heard Autumn killed Audrey, he was shocked. A few days ago, Autumn was an ordinary man beneath him. But in just 3 days, he'd slain Audrey, who was nearly as strong. This filled Yusu with dread. Yusu deduced that Audm must now be a Nen user, the power of a Nen user far outstripped that of an average person. He also concluded that Audm's Nen awakening probably happened because of Yusu himself. Regret crept in. Audm achieved in one blow what Yusu could not. His talent and potential had to be extraordinary. Because they'd already become enemies, Yusu decided, he must kill Audm, completely eliminate any future threat. But Yusu misjudged Audm. His talent and potential were actually average, nowhere near top tier in Nen ability. Without dark matter, he wouldn't have awakened consciousness after Yusu kicked him. Without memories from a past life, he couldn't have trained on his own. And without dark matter, he couldn't have killed Audrey. Yusu was projecting far beyond reality. Now hiding in Audrey's former territory, he waited for Audm. He even set aside his desire to punish Cage for now. Meanwhile, Cage arrived at the landfill that morning carrying 2 bottles of water and 3 meals for Audm. Seeing Audm hunting vultures yesterday, Cage assumed he was starving and brought provisions. At around 9 o'clock, once Audm finished a perimeter check and found no danger, he quietly approached behind Cage. Cage stiffened, then relaxed upon seeing Audm. "Lord Audm, you're here." Now alone with Audm, Cage addressed him more formally. Audm wasn't surprised he was addressed by name, yesterday's events had made it clear. He appeared now to learn about Yusu through Cage's words. Without intel, Audm felt blind. "By the way, Lord Audm, I've brought water and food, small portions from yesterday's exchange." Chapter 12. Food and water were indeed what Audm needed now. However, one must always remain vigilant. Audm looked at Cage, then took the offerings. Tearing off a small piece from each of the low-quality loaves, he handed them back, saying, "You eat." Cage, initially puzzled by Audm's action, was even more stunned when Audm gave the pieces back. "Yes, Lord Audm." But in the next moment, Cage understood. He immediately balled up the bread and stuffed it into his mouth without hesitation. Cage was a smart man. He knew what Audm meant, he suspected the food might be poisoned. But Cage had a clear conscience and didn't hesitate. Then Audm spoke again, "Look up and open your mouth." Cage obeyed without question. He already understood what Audm was doing. When he felt the water being poured into his mouth, Cage swallowed it with the dry bread. Seeing Cage comply obediently, Audm felt reassured. As the saying goes, a phoenix cannot fly out of a chicken coop. Naturally, Audm wasn't going to fully trust Cage just yet. Cage didn't think Audm had done anything wrong. On the contrary, he felt reassured by Audm's caution. To survive in Meteor City, one must be cautious, otherwise, you could be betrayed and have no recourse. After a moment, seeing that Cage showed no adverse reactions, Audm asked, "What do you want?" Audm knew he had nothing now. With Cage's intelligence, he must be aware of this. Moreover, Yusu posed a serious threat. Cage certainly knew that, too. And yet Cage had still chosen to come here. So Audm was sure that Cage wanted something. He didn't believe he possessed some kind of charisma that could inspire loyalty with mere presence. However, upon hearing the question, Cage knelt before Audm, lifted his head slightly, and said, "Lord Audm, I want to learn Nen. The world is bustling, all for the sake of profit." Audm knew that truth well. He wasn't surprised by Cage's request and replied calmly, "Not enough. That's not enough for me to teach you. Even if you somehow know about Nen, that's far from enough for me to teach you. In this world, Nen is forbidden from being exposed to ordinary people, and most are unaware of its existence. Although there are many Nen users in Meteor City, the general public doesn't even know about it. It was the same for Audm before his rebirth. Besides, people don't value what's easily obtained. If Cage wants to be taught, he must show loyalty that satisfies Audm. That said, Audm didn't actually know how to teach it properly, at least, not yet. Just then, A voice interrupted from the side, "If you want to learn Nen, you can come to me." In an instant, Autumn turned sharply. Though the voice had only spoken a few words, it was unforgettable. "Yusu." Autumn set down the bread and water. He looked at Yusu, who stood smirking nearby, then stood up himself. "No, it's not me, Lord Autumn, I swear it's not me." Seeing Autumn glance at him, Cage panicked and rushed to explain, terrified of being misunderstood, or worse, killed. "If it's a blessing, it won't be a disaster. If it's a disaster, there's no escaping it." Now that he was face to face with Yusu, Autumn was on high alert, ready to fight at any moment. "Your name is Autumn, right? I never expected you to waken Nen, and you did it right under my nose for 3 days. Haha, this is perfect. You're even more valuable now. Go to hell." With that, Yusu charged, hurling his fist at Autumn's head. Autumn had no time to speak. He immediately had to face Yusu's violent assault. So fast. All Autumn saw was a flicker of shadow before Yusu's fist slammed into his head. Bang! Without time to even brace, Autumn was knocked off his feet and into the garbage heap. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he managed to form a thin membrane of dark matter to absorb some of the impact, combined with Nen wrapped around his upper body. That defensive effort saved him from immediate death. Now, Autumn had no intention of fighting back. All he could think about was escape. Before, when he killed Audrey, he thought he was on Yusu's level, but now he realized how wrong he was. Audrey and Yusu were worlds apart. He couldn't even see Yusu's movements, let alone land a hit. Clatter. Knowing he was outmatched, Autumn didn't wait to die. He sprinted out of the landfill at full speed. But just as he escaped, another dark shadow flickered in front of his eyes. This time, Yusu grabbed his head and slammed it into the ground. Bang! Blood spilled from all of Autumn's orifices. His head spun. He almost lost consciousness. But he knew, if he blacked out now, he would die. "I'll crush your skull to release 3 days' worth of rage." Yusu, looking down at the defenseless Autumn, was cold and murderous. Just as Yusu was about to smash Autumn's head with a Nen-infused palm. Bang! Yusu suddenly felt a dangerous aura, then was violently kicked away by another shadow. "Yusu, those who want to kill me, do you really think I wouldn't dare kill you?" A thin, sharp-featured man radiating menace stood protectively beside Autumn. Barack. Yusu, gritting his teeth, glared at the newcomer. Chapter 13. Barack Chris, the manager of the 7th block, was also a Nen user, even stronger than Yusu. Naturally, Yusu's recent commotion couldn't escape his attention. Similarly, although Autumn had evaded Yusu's pursuit, he couldn't hide from Barack. At first, Barack didn't take Autumn seriously. But after hearing that Autumn had killed Audrey, he decided to recruit him. As manager of Block 7, if Barack wanted someone dead, it was a trivial matter. However, dealing with Yusu was different. Without sufficient cause, killing Yusu would cause real trouble. Not because Yusu was a Nen user, but because of the power backing him, power even Barack feared. "Barack, are you really going to protect him?" Yusu had already stood up, still furious, eyes locked on Barack like a predator. "Are you trying to force me to kill you right here?" Barack remained calm. "Try it." "Fine. We'll see." With that, Yusu turned and left. He knew he had no chance to kill Autumn now, not with Barack standing guard. It wasn't the time to clash head-on with Barack. He needed to grow stronger first. Yusu knew his own goal, and Barack knew both Yusu's ambitions and the power behind him. Once Yusu left, Barack turned to Cage, who was frozen in fear. "Take Autumn and follow me." Cage revered Barack and didn't dare disobey. "Yes, Lord Barack." Barack glanced at the unconscious Autumn, expressionless, then turned and walked toward Block 7. After gathering the food and water Autumn hadn't finished, Cage hoisted Autumn onto his back and followed closely. Unconscious, Autumn didn't know he had been rescued by Barak. Once Yusu was kicked away, the pressure on his skull lifted, and Autumn lost consciousness completely. That night, Autumn awoke by dim candlelight. His head throbbed violently. Am I dead again? Where is this? Cage, who had remained by Autumn's side the whole time, immediately stepped forward. Lord Autumn, you're awake. Cage had stayed for good reason, he saw opportunity. Now that Barak had saved Autumn, staying loyal could earn him the chance to learn Nen. So once he laid Autumn down, he never left. Leaving meant giving up the opportunity. Cage? I'm not dead. Where are we? Still in pain, Autumn sat up suddenly. His forehead throbbed, the bone had been fractured. Facing the now awake Autumn, Cage answered carefully. Lord Autumn, it was Lord Barak who saved you. We're at the Block 7 management office. Autumn took in the words. Looking at Cage, he said, is that so? He immediately understood. The only Barak Cage could be referring to was the manager of Block 7. Did he say anything? Autumn couldn't guess why Barak had saved him, but he was sure Barak had his reasons. Otherwise, why save a stranger like him? Cage shook his head. No. But Lord Barak said to find him once you woke up. Autumn considered that. Since it was night and his head still hurt, he decided to rest and go find Barak the next day. Is there anything to eat? He asked. Yes, please wait a moment. Cage turned and retrieved the bread and water that Autumn hadn't finished earlier and handed them over. Lord Autumn, here's the bread you left this morning. You eat too. Autumn took only half, leaving the other in Cage's hand. He had noticed that Cage was just as hungry as he was. Thank you, Lord Autumn. Autumn stuffed the bread into his mouth and swallowed without chewing. He just wanted to fill his stomach quickly and rest. The headache made him dread any movement. Once he'd eaten, he said to Cage, I want to rest. Don't disturb me. Cage nodded quickly. Yes. Autumn lay down, and Cage quietly curled up on the floor, afraid even to breathe too loudly. In the dark room, only the dim candlelight flickered. Autumn, rather than think about anything else, focused his energy. He gathered his Nen and dark matter, concentrating it around his forehead. Nen could be used for more than offense and defense, it could also accelerate healing. He condensed the dark matter to shield his injured skull from further harm. Gradually, the headache began to ease. The next morning, still aching but awake, Autumn stepped outside and watched the rising sun. For the first time since his rebirth, he felt a moment of peace. Unfamiliar with the management office, Autumn left without Cage, walking out to the front yard. There, he only recognized one person, Wuriz, the man responsible for issuing and collecting protective gear. As someone with a role in the office, Wuriz would surely know where Barak was. When Autumn arrived, most residents of Meteor City had already taken their suits and gone to the landfill. Wuriz was less busy. Wuriz. Hearing his name called from behind, Wuriz turned. When he saw Autumn, he asked in surprise. Autumn? Why are you here? Chapter 14. When Autumn was carried back by Cage yesterday, he wasn't seen by Wuriz. So now, when Wuriz saw Autumn suddenly appear behind him, he questioned him aloud. Wuriz still remembered Autumn somewhat. A few days ago, Autumn had been the first to come collect protective clothing, and they had chatted briefly. Plus, with all the noise caused by Yusu's group recently searching for Autumn, he kept Autumn in mind. Can't I be here? By the way, Lord Barak asked me to find him, but I don't know where he is, so I wanted you to take me. Hearing this, Wuriz was stunned. Lord Barak asked you to find him? You're not lying to me? Autumn nodded. I was injured yesterday. Lord Barak saved me. I stayed in the side yard last night. He told me to find him after I woke up. When Wurres heard that Autumn had spent the night in the side yard, he believed most of what he said. Then he asked, I can take you to Lord Barak, but why me? Autumn shrugged. You're the only person I know here. At that moment, a blue-haired girl carrying a short knife stepped out from the main courtyard. Seeing Autumn, she said, Autumn, right. Come with me. I'll take you to Lord Barak. Just as she finished, and appeared beside Autumn, Wurres, who had been facing him, bowed quickly and greeted her, Good morning, Lady Amira. Amira didn't even glance at Wurres. She looked at Autumn, who turned to face her, and repeated, Let's go. Without another word, she turned toward the main courtyard. Okay. Autumn responded, glanced at Wurres, and followed. After Autumn and Amira left, Wurres felt a twinge of regret, angry that he just lost an opportunity to make an impression in front of Barak. Soon, Amira led Autumn to the hall of the main courtyard, pushed open the door, and stepped inside. Seeing this, Autumn stopped and waited outside. Having observed Amira on the way, Autumn could tell she was an end-user like him. And judging by how casually she came and went, her status here was clearly significant. Amira had overheard Autumn's earlier conversation with Wurres. In fact, when the unconscious and newly reborn Autumn was carried into the Block 7 management office by Cage, Amira had seen it, so she already knew who he was. That's why she personally brought this stranger to meet Barak. Autumn waited outside for around half an hour before Amira exited the hall. Lord Barak wants you to come in. Her tone was cold as she passed Autumn, not sparing him a second glance. Only after she was gone did Autumn step into the hall. Inside, Barak sat on the central seat, gazing at him with sharp, hawk-like eyes. Thank you for saving me yesterday, Lord Barak. Regardless of Barak's motives, Autumn knew he had no power to resist him now. He could only obey. Unless he wanted to die. After staring at him for a moment, Barak asked, Do you know why I saved you? Autumn shook his head. Please enlighten me, sir. Yusu is vindictive. I could save you once yesterday, but I can't save you again, and certainly not a third time. If you want something, you have to give something. That's why I saved you. There was more behind Barak's words. After thinking briefly, Autumn understood. I understand, Lord Barak. Please rest assured. He lowered his head and replied with respectful submission. Only the clever survive long in Meteor City. I have high hopes for you, Autumn else. He smiled, but beneath that smile was cold calculation. Every move was laced with intent. This was the kind of man Barak was. 3 months. I'll give you only 3 months. During that time, you won't need to scrape by, I'll provide everything. I hope you don't disappoint me. He held up 3 fingers to emphasize his point. Hearing that, Autumn immediately looked up. He wanted to refuse, but Barak's eyes were too dangerous. He had no choice. Yes, I understand. Autumn hated the feeling of being controlled, but he was powerless to change it. He was simply too weak. Leave. If you need anything, speak to Amira. After submitting fully, Autumn was dismissed. I'll go, then. With a last glance at Barak, Autumn turned and left. Outside, as sunlight hit him, pain spiked in Autumn's head again. 3 months, neither long nor short. But at least during this time, Autumn could rest. As long as he stayed within the management office, he didn't need to fear Yusu. What would happen in 3 months? He didn't know. But he did know that if he couldn't defeat Yusu by then, he would be the one to die. Barak had made it clear, he had saved Autumn so he could eventually eliminate Yusu. That was the price of his rescue. Autumn didn't know what made him special in Barak's eyes, but he knew one thing, he had to grow stronger in these 3 months. He had to be able to defeat Yusu. Chapter 15. After returning to the room in the courtyard, Autumn said to Cage, who was still waiting inside, "You'll follow me from now on. I'll teach you Nen within 3 months. During this time, you don't need to go anywhere else. Just stay here." When Cage heard Autumn's command, he was instantly overjoyed and responded excitedly, "Thank you, sir, thank you. Go outside and stand guard. Don't let anyone disturb me. And prepare 3 meals a day for me." Autumn looked at the excited Cage and waved him off. "Yes. Rest assured, I won't let anyone bother you." With that, Cage walked out. Now that Autumn had given his promise, Cage was completely fired up. He finally had the chance to learn what he had longed for. Once Cage left and stood outside, Autumn lay back down on the bed. Right now, the most important thing wasn't training, it was recovering from his injuries. Time passed like flowing water. After 10 days of recuperation, Autumn had completely healed. 1/10 of his 3-month deadline had already passed. Under the pressure from Barack, Autumn needed to grow stronger, fast. The only way he could think of to do so was to develop his own Nen ability, gift from the dark world. To achieve this, Autumn imposed restrictions and vows upon himself, a classic path for Nen users seeking power. There is no gain without sacrifice. Autumn, fully aware of this, chose to exchange the power of the dark world for a permanent drain on his own aura. With every effort he made, the total amount of dark matter within him would grow. The restrictions and vows Autumn placed on himself were extremely harsh. In Nen, aura volume is a key determinant of one's lower limit. Now, Autumn was wagering his future, sacrificing flexibility for raw power. But he had no other choice. The 3-month limit was like a blade hanging over his neck. When Barack said 3 months, he meant it, maybe even less. Could 3 months be enough for Autumn to fully develop gift from the dark world? Possibly. But since all his time had to be focused on developing that ability, when would he have time to train general Nen skills? This was why making a restriction and vow became a necessity. "Here we go." Murmuring to himself, Autumn began refining his ability again. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Autumn clasped his hands together and then slowly pulled them apart. A ball of dark matter appeared between his palms. As he focused, Autumn once again glimpsed the dark world, and began multitasking, maintaining the dark matter orb while channeling his aura into that realm. Suddenly, the dark world before his eyes churned like boiling water. A massive suction force erupted. Autumn's aura, like water released from a broken dam, surged violently into the dark world. Caught off guard by the change, Autumn tried desperately to stop the flow. Finally, by force of will, he cut the transfer and stabilized his Nen. But by then, his already modest aura reserves had been slashed in half, in under 3 seconds. He was visibly drained. He looked exhausted, as if he had just endured extreme exertion. Just when Autumn thought he'd failed, something changed. He suddenly felt as if his consciousness had entered the dark world physically, not just through vision. Everything around him shifted. Silence and cold enveloped him. His eyes saw only a blue-violet void. At the same time, Autumn sensed an unknown energy entering his body, soothing him like a warm bath. His fatigue quickly melted away, and without knowing it, some hidden internal injuries also began to heal. Eventually, Autumn fell into a deep sleep. This was the most restful sleep he'd had since being reborn, his mind blank, free of stress or thought. About an hour later, Autumn woke naturally. The light through the window told him he hadn't been out long. He stretched his body, raised his right hand, and with a thought, a marble-sized orb of dark matter appeared in his palm. But this wasn't his limit. The orb began to grow, dark matter steadily flowing out of his body until the orb reached the size of a ping-pong ball. Only then did Autumn feel he'd hit his current cap. Ha 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 ha. Seeing the result, Autumn couldn't help but laugh inwardly. A smile of relief spread across his face. He had succeeded. He had successfully developed his Nen ability, gift from the dark world. The cost had been steep, but it was worth it. With more dark matter, his versatility increased dramatically. For example, when his dark matter was only marble-sized, he could only shape it into a small needle. Now, with a ping-pong ball's worth, he could form a 3-inch blade. And if it ever reached the size of a basketball, or beyond, what might he be able to do then? After basking in the success, Audm quickly grounded himself again. From here on, he needed to train relentlessly, not only in the 4 major Nen principles, Ten, Zetsu, Ren, Hatsu, and application techniques, but also in expanding his aura capacity. Only by increasing his total aura could he create more dark matter, and truly wield the power of his gift from the dark world. Chapter 16. 3 months passed, and Audm had been living a reclusive life during this time. During his daily practice sessions, in addition to the 4 major basic exercises, Audm also used Ren and Zetsu. Now, after 3 months of dedicated training, Audm had mastered the 4 fundamental Nen practices. Take 10, for instance. Originally, he could maintain 10 for only 20 to 30 seconds at a stretch, but now, Audm could hold it for over 5 minutes uninterrupted. That was a huge leap. As for Gyo and Ren, having read the original novel, Audm understood how invaluable these advanced Nen applications were in combat. So while practicing all 4 foundational elements, he diligently trained both Gyo and Ren. In Nen's advanced techniques, Gyo concentrates energy in a specific part of the body, like the eyes, to pierce through hidden tactics used by an opponent, allowing clearer perception and faster reaction. Ren, on the other hand, wraps internal energy around external objects, knives, swords, bullets. When Nen flows into these tools, it reinforces them and extends the user's capabilities, almost like an extension of their own limbs. Unlike protagonists like Gon and Killua, Audm lacked a mentor to guide him, so he resorted to homemade training for Gyo and Ren. To train Gyo, he maintained Nen focus in his eyes constantly. For Ren, he created 2 spheres of dark matter, one left brute and unchanneled, the other wrapped in Nen. He then made them collide, forcing mastery over dark matter while testing the reinforcing aspect of Ren. Without Ren, the enhanced sphere would shatter. With it, Audm could condense it quickly after the impact. After 3 intense months, short in time, long in effort, an immature but bold idea crossed Audm's mind: could he combine all 4 basic practices and layer on advanced Nen techniques simultaneously? It was a vague thought, he hadn't yet figured out how, or if it would succeed. Meanwhile, his physical fitness had steadily improved, thanks to the dark matter within him. Over those 3 months, Audm gradually recognized dark matter's effectiveness. The next morning, Amira arrived early. Today marked the end of the 3-month deadline set by Barak. It was the only night Audm had skipped training. He needed rest to prepare for today. He rose early, ate, and looked at the bright morning sun. The morning sun feels so warm, he thought. Just as he basked in sunlight, Amira burst in, pulling him from his reverie. Audm, Lord Barak wants you now. Got it, let's go, he replied, turning from the window to join Amira. Amira offered no further words, just a cold nod, and led the way. As Audm stepped out, Cage, his devoted servant for the past 3 months, waited at the door. I'll teach you when I return, Audm promised. Thank you, Master Audm, Cage replied, his eyes shining with excitement, the promise of learning to read at last. This was the second time Audm and Amira had met Barak. 3 months earlier was the first, and much like now, Amira had guided Audm to this courtyard. They entered the main grounds where Barak stood. Come in, he called. The final farewell at the door few months ago repeated, but this time, Amira didn't leave Audm outside. Audm murmured and stepped forward. Autumn and Amira addressed Barak together, "Lord Barak." Barak looked up, then spoke to Autumn, "3 months have passed, are you ready?" Autumn nodded firmly, "Yes, fully ready at your command." A slight, ruthless smile appeared on Barak's face as murderous intent flared. "Yusu is now in the landfill, go to him." Autumn inhaled, then replied softly, "Yes." And without hesitation, he turned and left. The order was clear, Barak wanted Yusu eliminated. Would Autumn refuse? He wanted to. Could he refuse? He theoretically could, but didn't dare. Could he choose to stay? He could, but he had to follow through. Was he sure he could kill Yusu? No, but he had to try. All of this forced compliance stemmed from one truth: without strength, one has no choice. Autumn had spent 3 months in the 7th Block Management Office, lodged, fed, and protected. Barak's guardianship had also kept Yusu from finding him. But today, the bill came due. If Autumn didn't strike first, Barak had ways to handle him otherwise, starting with revoking his protection. Yusu would then hunt Autumn, forcing another confrontation. That would put Autumn in a corner, and offend Barak. Since the day Barak rescued Autumn, Autumn had been ensnared in a trap engineered by Barak, a nearly inescapable one. His only hope would be to ally with Yusu, but that was almost impossible, since Yusu had originally placed Autumn on his kill list. Chapter 17. And there was a more critical point: even if he and Yusu could join forces, could they actually defeat Barak? 3 months ago, Barak had rescued him from Yusu with ease. So 3 months later, could Yusu possibly be stronger than Barak? That wasn't likely. So, Autumn's current path was clear: kill Yusu in order to survive. At the same time, Autumn thought that since he couldn't escape this situation, rather than doing nothing and letting Yusu come for him, putting himself in a passive position, it would be better to take the initiative. That way, he could regain a measure of control. Armed with the intel and assignment given by Barak, Autumn quietly entered the landfill again. He soon picked up Yusu's trail. Along the way, he passed by Yusu's subordinates, gathered around him and scavenging supplies, but they had no clue Autumn was there. When Autumn spotted Yusu standing in alert silence, his back turned but emanating a palpable killing intent, a black, 3-inch sword materialized in Autumn's hand. Without hesitation, Autumn flung the dark sword at Yusu's right thigh with incredible speed. There was a reason Autumn had chosen to aim for the thigh instead of the upper body, head, or heart. He hadn't forgotten Yusu's speed from last time. Even after 3 months of training, Autumn lacked confidence when facing him. If he had gone straight for a lethal blow, Yusu, ever vigilant, might have dodged it. Instead, if he could cripple Yusu's leg, it would drastically reduce his speed and give Autumn the advantage. Plus, his real goal wasn't immediate death. If the dark matter sword embedded itself in Yusu's body, the tide of battle would turn. Once he had the upper hand, he could talk. Autumn wasn't foolish. Barak clearly had the power to kill Yusu, yet hadn't done it. There must be something about Yusu that even Barak feared. And if Barak questioned his decision not to kill Yusu, Autumn could always claim the grudge had been resolved or that it was all a misunderstanding. After all, Barak had never explicitly stated Yusu had to be killed. This was the only solution Autumn could come up with to escape the deadly triangle he was trapped in, between Barak and Yusu, 2 metaphorical tigers vying for dominance. He was still far too weak to offend either. But perhaps, he could quietly align with Yusu. The small black sword whistled through the air toward Yusu. Ever alert, Yusu sensed the threat immediately. Though not life-threatening, the danger made him leap left and spin around. Still, he was injured. The dark blade embedded itself deep into Yusu's thigh. It didn't pierce through completely, but it struck bone. Had it been made of conventional materials, Yusu might have evaded it. But this sword was forged from the dark matter within Autumn. "Autumn, it's you." Though ambushed and bleeding, Yusu remained fierce, barking coldly at his attacker. Then he yanked the black sword from his thigh and hurled it back at Autm with a flick of his wrist. What Yusu didn't expect was that as the blade flew back, it halted midair and gently returned to Autumn's hand. Manipulation? Conjuration? Seeing Autm effortlessly call the sword back, Yusu was visibly shaken and began to analyze his nen category. But he was wrong on both counts. And he hadn't realized that the sword he had pulled from his leg was now slightly shorter than before. Using nen, Yusu sealed the bleeding in his thigh. Meanwhile, Autm stepped forward, his face emotionless. "Yusu, can we talk?" From that brief encounter alone, Yusu understood, Autm had spent the last 3 months developing his own nen ability. He was no longer a fledgling, and his strength had grown significantly. Now, Autm was indeed qualified to talk. And with Yusu injured, he couldn't go all out. If he wanted to defeat Autm, it wouldn't be easy. Talk? What could we possibly have to talk about? Barak clearly sent you here to kill me. Yusu wasn't just replying, he was probing Autumn's motive and watching for flaws, ready to pounce. Autumn nodded. True, Barak ordered me to kill you. But he never said it outright. The implication was clear. Autm had received orders, but didn't intend to follow them fully. It was just a misunderstanding between us at the beginning. If we can resolve it, isn't that better? Besides, he added, maybe I should be thanking you. As he spoke, Autm formed a ball of dark matter in his hand. Us. There's nothing to discuss. As Autm approached, Yusu tried to speak, but halfway through his sentence, he struck out. At that moment, Autm knew, there was no avoiding this battle. His eyes sharpened. He moved. Though Yusu could no longer move at top speed due to his leg wound, and though he was no longer just a black blur before Autm could now clearly see his every move. Chapter 18. Faced with Yusu's powerful attack, Autm didn't hesitate. He crouched to evade Yusu's punch and countered with an uppercut to the chin. Though Yusu revealed a brief defensive gap during his attack, he wasn't so easy to hit. He quickly tilted his head back and brought up his knee, slamming it into Autumn's stomach. Bang! Bang! Autm was knocked back, but not without landing a blow of his own. After Yusu dodged the uppercut, Autm struck him in the face with a dark matter-coated fist. The first exchange between them ended in a draw, neither seriously harmed. Though Yusu looked slightly worse, the injury was only to his face. The wound didn't faze Yusu, instead, it enraged him further. You've gotten stronger in just 3 months. But if you think you can kill me like this, you're dead wrong. As Yusu snarled, Nen burst from his body and condensed into a massive, beast-like head, resembling a tiger, around his right hand. His 5 fingers transformed into fangs. Nen ability, Tiger Roar Skull Crushing Hand. Seeing the tiger-shaped Nen beast on Yusu's hand, Autm became immediately alert and thought to himself, come on. Just a little faster. The next moment, Yusu lunged, his right hand raised high. Autm didn't doubt for a second that a clean hit from that would leave him half dead, if not worse. He dashed aside, refusing to let Yusu get close. He circled quickly around Yusu's left, waiting for the right moment, for the dark matter that had entered Yusu's aorta to reach his heart. All Autm had to do now was stall. Judging by Yusu's Nen ability, Autm had assumed he was likely a transmutation type. But with his leg wounded, Yusu couldn't match Autumn's speed for now, even though he was usually faster. The two circled one another across a trash heap barely 50 meters wide. Seeing he couldn't catch up, Yusu narrowed his eyes, studied Autumn's movements, and predicted his path, throwing a savage right hook. A massive beast head-shaped Nen blast charged directly at Autumn. Emission type. Seeing himself locked in Yusu's trajectory, Autumn realized he'd been wrong. Yusu wasn't a transmutation user. His Nen was emission type. Stunned, Autumn gritted his teeth and expanded the dark matter in his body, stretching it into a thin film to block the incoming strike. But Yusu's attack shattered the dark matter barrier instantly, continuing forward and crashing into Autumn. Boom! Autumn was blown back. If not for using dark matter to absorb most of the force, and buying himself just enough time to raise his arms defensively, he'd have been completely incapacitated. As it stood, he was only knocked back, rolling several times along the ground, but still able to move. Yet the danger hadn't passed. Seeing his strike succeed, Yusu rushed in to deliver the final blow. Just as Autumn began to rise, Yusu was already on him, fist raised. But then, searing pain erupted from Yusu's chest, as if something was tearing out of his heart, freezing him mid-motion. Autumn seized the moment and kicked Yusu square in the gut. HHH. Yusu collapsed, howling in agony. He clutched his chest, shrieking as if dying. Yusu, I won. Autumn stood tall, speaking to Yusu, who now lay 20 meters away. At that instant, as Autumn willed it, Yusu's pain disappeared. If Autumn wanted to kill him right now, it would only take a thought. A grain-sized ball of dark matter had entered Yusu's heart, slipped into his bloodstream back during Autumn's ambush. Back then, Yusu hadn't noticed that when he ripped out the black sword, dark matter had entered his aorta. As Yusu fought and moved with intensity, the dark matter had flowed bit by bit into his heart, leading to this moment. What did you do to me? After the pain faded, Yusu stood slowly, eyes burning with rage as he glared at Autumn. I placed a time bomb in your heart. Your life or death now depends on me. Autumn replied with chilling calm. Yusu looked down at his chest, then at his wounded leg, and at last understood why he had lost. Raising his head, he met Autumn's gaze and asked, "Tell me your goal." He knew now that his life rested in Autumn's hands, it would take only a moment for him to be killed. But Autumn hadn't done that, so clearly he had a purpose. I want to know, what's the grudge between you and Barak? And why does he want to kill you, but not do it himself, instead sending me? Autumn laid his questions bare. He wanted answers. Yusu, caught off guard by the directness, replied without hesitation. Because he knows I aim to replace him as manager of the 7th district. As for why he doesn't dare kill me himself yet, Chapter 19. That's because he doesn't dare. Yusu spoke to Autumn in a calm tone, baring his yellowed teeth in a mocking grin. Why not? Autumn's voice remained composed, though his mind raced. Because he knows my eldest brother, Taz, is currently working under the elders in Central City. If he dares to kill me, he'll face my brother's revenge. Do you dare to kill me? Yusu added the last line provocatively, taunting Autumn. Autumn understood, and the larger context clicked into place. Yusu wanted to take Barak's position as 7th district manager. Barak, fearing Taz, Yusu's backer, sent Autumn to do the killing. This way, Barak could wash his hands of Yusu's death. If Taz wanted revenge, he'd go after Autumn, not Barak, making Autumn the perfect scapegoat. Still, 2 questions nagged Autumn. Why did Barak believe Autumn could definitely kill Yusu? And why did Barak allow him to act today? Do your men know you have a big brother? Autumn, still searching for answers, asked. By now, he sensed the full depth of Barak's trap. Yusu shook his head silently. What's today's date? Does Barak have something planned? At that moment, 2 of Yusu's subordinates, Perlov and Rafe, arrived with the rest of the gang, surrounding Autumn and Yusu. Seeing Yusu injured and Autumn standing before him, Rafe shouted, "Boss! Are you okay?" Before Yusu could respond, a sudden burst of blood exploded from his chest. A mental bullet had pierced his heart. Yusu, caught completely off guard, dropped where he stood, his pupils dilating, life snuffed out in an instant. Autumn had seen it. Thanks to his sustained use of Gyo, he noticed the Nen projectile, but even then, he couldn't react in time to stop it. Boss! Boss! Perlov and Rafe wailed in shock as Yusu collapsed. Autumn spun instantly, eyes searching the direction of the shot. But he saw nothing. He's the one who killed Boss Yusu. Let's avenge him. Perlov pointed at Autumn, shifting blame. As the accusation rang out, 5 men surged forward, shouting, "Kill him! Avenge Boss Yusu!" Autumn's eyes widened. Now he understood why Barak was so confident he could eliminate Yusu. Because he never truly depended on Autumn. That sniper in the shadows was Barak's trump card. And the sniper's identity? Most likely Barak himself. But that no longer mattered. What mattered was that Yusu was dead, murdered in front of Autumn and all of Yusu's men. In everyone's eyes, Autumn was the killer. The 5 attackers meant little. They were ordinary men. Autumn vanished from view, and in an instant reappeared before Perlov. All 5 attackers had been knocked unconscious in that blink of time. "You're the traitor." Autumn, gripping Perlov by the neck, spoke softly. "You're full of it. Boss Taz will never forgive you for killing Boss Yusu." Despite the calm in Perlov's eyes, he was visibly frightened. His face reddened as Autumn choked the air from his lungs. Everyone else stood frozen. Even Rafe dared not speak. "Do you even know who Taz is?" Autumn asked, turning to Rafe. "No. I don't." Rafe answered nervously. Autumn let out a dry chuckle, then released Perlov, disappearing again and reappearing next to Yusu's body. "If Taz wants to come, let him come find me. But I didn't kill Yusu." With that, Autumn picked up Yusu's corpse and vanished from their sight. After Autumn left, Rafe turned to the gasping Perlov, now flushed and weak. "Take them back," Rafe ordered. "They might be traitors." At that moment, Rafe chose to trust Autumn over his old companion Perlov. Why? Because of Taz. Rafe had never heard of Taz, so how did Perlov know that name? And with Autumn's strength, there was no reason to lie. He had even told Taz to come find him, boldly. Everything pointed to one conclusion: Autumn wasn't the killer. Perlov was the likely traitor. A deeper conspiracy behind Yusu's death was taking shape. Perlov tried to resist, but Rafe quickly subdued him and took him alive. When Autumn returned to the 7th block carrying Yusu's body, he saw Amira standing at the door of the management office, her expression icy. Nearby stood Cage, who had served Autumn loyally for 3 months. His face betrayed his anxiety as he watched the entrance to Block 7. The moment Cage saw Autumn, his eyes lit up with joy. Autumn approached Amira and said, "Yusu is dead. Someone else killed him." Amira, expression as cold as ever, responded flatly, "Then you can leave." She turned and walked into the building without waiting for a reaction. Autumn watched her back as she disappeared, but failed to notice the cold gleam in Amira's eyes as she turned away. Once she was out of sight, Autumn, still carrying Yusu's corpse, said to Cage, "Let's go." "Yes." Cage responded excitedly, quickly catching up to Autumn. Chapter 20. 3 days later, Autumn brought Cage to the house where he'd been hiding. After casually placing Yusu's body in a corner, Autumn turned to Cage and asked, "Are you ready? I can teach you how to open your aura nodes now." Cage, who had been visibly excited the whole way, immediately replied, "Lord Autumn, I'm ready." Autumn stood before Cage and said, "If you want to learn Nen, you must understand what it is. Nen is the life energy in the human body. It leaks out constantly into the world. To master it, you must awaken it, and then learn to control it." Cage listened intently to everything Autumn explained about Nen. The method of awakening is to open the aura nodes in the body and release the life energy. This process is also called baptism. And those undergoing baptism must be prepared to face death. After that, Autumn paused, a strange glint flashing in his eyes. "Thank you for explaining, Lord Autumn. Please let me be baptized." Autumn nodded without another word. In his palm, he condensed a dark, fingernail-sized orb that glowed blue-violet. This is my Nen ability, though invisible to you now, it can also awaken you. If you merge it into your body and survive the erosion, you'll awaken your Nen. Cage, unable to see what Autumn held but trusting him completely, nodded. Yes, I'll endure it. Close your eyes and relax your whole body. Autumn's voice was soft. Cage obeyed, closing his eyes and letting his body go limp. Despite the overwhelming malice he now felt from Autumn, he resisted the urge to flee, clinging to his desire to awaken Nen. Autumn pressed the glowing dark matter into Cage's chest, and it sank instantly into his body. At that moment, Autumn felt both calm and on edge. The first step was complete. Now he had to wait for Cage to awaken. Soon, Cage's entire body began to tremble. Then, he suddenly opened his eyes. Simultaneously, all his aura nodes burst open, and blue-violet Nen surged from his body. Done. Success. Both Autumn and Cage thought the same thing. Cage, don't speak. Relax. Use your will to control your aura. Let it circulate through your body like flowing water. Cage nodded, closing his eyes once again. He wasn't talentless. Quickly, he managed to gather his Nen on his skin's surface and began learning Ten, one of the four main principles, marking the completion of his awakening. When Cage opened his eyes again, he bowed deeply to Autumn, eyes shining. Thank you, Lord Autumn. In that moment, he could feel the newfound power surging inside him. I finally attained the Nen I dreamed of. Feel it. You earned it. Autumn could sense Cage's excitement, and he shared a bit of that excitement, too. But of course, Autumn had his own motive for baptizing Cage. Plunder of dark matter. This was the Nen ability Autumn had developed from his connection to the dark world, a way to accelerate his own growth. The core purpose of this ability was to solve the problem that accepting gifts from the dark world always consumed a portion of his own energy permanently. So he created a Nen ability that would allow him to steal energy from others and sacrifice it to the dark world instead, sparing his own life force. The conditions to use this ability were harsh. The target had to willingly accept Autumn's dark matter into their body. Even a trace of resistance would render the ability useless. The blue-violet glow in Cage's aura was a side effect of that special gift. Go rest. Autumn instructed. Yes. Cage left, eager to experience his new strength. Autumn didn't teach him anything further. If Cage asked, maybe he'd tell him, or maybe not. In Autumn's heart, Cage was just a tool. He could strip Cage of his energy at any moment. And if necessary, Autumn would kill Cage and offer his Nen to the dark world. After Cage left, Autumn sat down. He looked at Yusu's corpse in the corner, closed his eyes, and began to rest. He hadn't forgotten, Yusu had an older brother. And Taz was a far greater threat. He needed to recover, quickly. That night, an uninvited guest approached the 7th block. His face bore a striking resemblance to Yusu, nearly 70%. This man was Taz, Yusu's biological older brother. After entering the block, Taz made his way directly to the management office. As a subordinate of Elder Siegel from the West District, Taz was in the 7th block on official business, delivering supplies from various sectors back to Central City, as ordered by Elder Siegel. Upon arrival, Taz went straight to find Barak, who waited calmly in the courtyard. Barak, is everything ready? Taz emerged from the shadows on Barak's left, his voice low and firm. It's ready. It's in the rear warehouse. Barak didn't flinch at the sudden voice. It was as if he had known Taz was there the whole time. Then let's move. We can't delay the Elder's affairs. Taz stepped into the light. Barak turned, offering a cryptic smile. Then follow me. Soon, Barak led Taz into the backyard. To outsiders, it would appear to be just a massive junkyard, and they wouldn't be wrong. It was piled high with items scavenged from the landfill by Meteor Street residents, bartered for food, water, or other essentials. While worthless to the outside world, these items were hard currency in Meteor Street. Chapter 21. When they arrived at the warehouse in the backyard, Taz, who was about to go in and retrieve the items inside, was stopped by Barak. Barak said, "Taz, I have bad news and good news. Do you want to hear it?" Taz felt a sharp annoyance at being halted, but he still turned to Barak and asked, "What news?" Barak laughed and replied, "The bad news is that your brother Yusu was killed today." In an instant, Taz stormed toward Barak, his hair standing on end, and punched him. Hearing that Yusu was dead, Taz was certain Barak was lying. He knew full well that whatever his younger brother wanted, Taz was the one who advised him. The relationship between the two brothers and Barak was clearly hostile. If not for Elder Siegel's rules, there would have been a fight long ago. In the 7th block, Taz knew Barak was the only one capable of killing Yusu. Barak, expecting Taz's sudden attack, quickly stepped back, avoiding the blow, and said calmly, "I didn't kill your brother. Do you want to fight me now?" In terms of strength, Barak and Taz were evenly matched. Barak might even be slightly stronger. The reason Taz was valued by Elder Siegel was entirely due to his psychic ability, his secret treasure collection room. This ability allowed him to mentally store any item he deemed valuable. His skill with Nen, especially in facilitating transport, led Elder Siegel to appoint Taz in charge of material logistics for the Western District. Because of this, Taz was deeply trusted by Elder Siegel, so much so that the other block managers were wary of him, and Barak was no exception. Fear is fear. If it came down to a life or death fight, Barak would show no mercy. "Who killed him?" Taz asked. Although he didn't shout, tears streamed down Taz's face, and his eyes shone with sorrow as he looked at Barak. For Taz, Yusu was his only blood relative, and they'd been close since childhood. Otherwise, a clever person like Taz wouldn't have groomed Yusu for a block manager position. Even Yusu's Nen awakening was thanks to Taz. 2 years ago, after Taz developed his treasure collection room, he used it to demonstrate his worth to Elder Siegel. That's how he was taken on. Later, after helping Yusu unlock his Nen, Taz realized that surviving on Meteor Street meant relying on the elders, so he began preparing Yusu to manage the 7th block. But now Barak claimed Yusu was dead. The good news I mentioned, Barak continued, is that the murderer is a psychic user named Autm, who's hiding in Block 7. Your brother's body is with him right now. Who knows if it's been eaten already? As Barak shifted blame to Autm, he deliberately provoked Taz. By the way, one of your brother's men survived. He can tell you how your brother died. Want to meet him? At Barak's prompting, Perlov was brought in. He was the sole survivor from Yusu's men. The rest now lay in Barak's hands. Perlov looked a pitiable sight, covered in wounds, some from Loth, others from Barak himself. He's the only witness, Barak said, pointing at Perlov. Taz wiped away his tears, glared at Perlov, and spoke with deadly malice, "What's your name?" "T. Perlov," he stammered, fear evident in his eyes. Barak, standing aside, watched both of them calmly. "Who killed Yusu?" Taz asked again. Perlov was frozen by Taz's murderous aura. It plunged into his soul and he collapsed to the ground. Seeing that, Taz momentarily withdrew his killing intent and snarled, "Speak." With the threat gone, Perlov relaxed like a drowning man finding a lifeline. He panted, still terrified, and managed to say, "Yes. It was Autm." "Who is Autm? How did he kill Yusu?" Taz eyed Perlov, slumped before him, contemplating whether to kill him on the spot and study his soul memory via the treasure collection room. That secret function was the real purpose of his ability, extracting the value of items, or souls, by reading them, something no one else knew about. Perlov, trembling under interrogation, recounted how Autm allegedly killed Yusu. His story was 90% true and entirely false in parts, as he tried to mislead Taz. He even claimed Autm had been sheltered by Barak in the management office for 3 months. But after hearing this, Taz didn't believe that Autm was the killer. Instead, he became sure Barak was behind Yusu's death. Now, all that remained was the proof to expose Barak as the murderer. Hey hunters! Short cult break. Also, today's fact is actually interesting. Did you know the chimera ants were inspired by Tobishi's childhood love of insects? He collected bugs and sketched their traits in notebooks as a kid. And that's how the chimera ants got made. I thought that was cool. Now let's keep going. Chapter 22. Just as Perlov finished speaking, he felt a sharp pain in his neck. Then he lost consciousness, his head severed and flying off. This was Taz's doing. Perlov had said enough. Now, Taz would uncover the truth in his own way. Taz, standing across from Barak and beside Perlov's corpse, looked over at Barak. His nen surged, and a small, single-story building with a closed door materialized in his left hand. This was the manifestation of Taz's nen ability, the treasure collection room. He squatted and touched Perlov's body. The door to the collection room opened and unleashed a suction force, instantly pulling Perlov's corpse inside. "Where is he?" Taz asked, looking up at Barak. In response, Barak smiled and called to the shadows nearby, "Amira." As Barak finished, a blue-haired girl wielding a dagger stepped from the shadows. It was Amira, who had been hiding there for unknown reasons. Then Barak said to Taz, "He's over there. Amira will take you." After giving Barak another look, Taz walked off without a word. Amira, after glancing back and receiving a slight nod from Barak, followed silently. Led by Amira, they quickly located where Autm and Cage were hiding and broke in violently. Faced with the sudden intrusion by Amira and Taz, Autm appeared unsurprised. Calm and collected, he spoke the moment they entered. "Amira, visiting me this late, what's the occasion?" Amira maintained her icy expression, glancing at Cage, who had just woken up. But Taz, standing beside her, immediately spotted Yusu's lifeless body near Autm and said bluntly, "Are you Autm?" Though Autm had never met Taz, the resemblance, nearly 70% to Yusu, made his identity clear. Autm nodded slightly and replied, "Yes. If you've come for revenge, I suggest you examine Yusu's wounds before making your move." As he spoke, a ball of dark matter formed in Autumn's hand. He shifted aside, signaling that Taz could look freely. But would Taz do as Autm suggested? Of course not. The instant Autm moved, Taz lunged. Prepared, Autm grabbed Cage by the collar and raised a round shield of dark matter, glowing blue-purple, in front of him. The shield was no match for Taz's attack, it exploded. But Autm had already leapt through a window, dragging Cage with him. "Go after him," Taz growled, turning to Amira rather than giving chase himself. "I'm not your subordinate," Amira replied coldly, before pursuing in the direction Autm fled. Once Amira was gone, Taz shed tears once more. He manifested the treasure collection room and said to his fallen brother, "Yusu, I'll make them all pay." After burying Yusu, Taz didn't dismiss the collection room. Instead, he placed it on the ground. Its door transformed into a 2-meter-high stone gate. With a gentle push, Taz opened it and walked inside, leaving only the stone door behind. Now, Taz had a task, to identify Perlov's corpse and read his soul memories to uncover the truth behind Yusu's death. To appraise the value of a secret treasure, Taz had to enter the treasure collection room. And for the memory reading function to work, the target had to be killed by Taz himself. Inside, Taz appeared in a square room piled with garbage. This was the interior of his ability. In front of him lay the corpses of both Perlov and Yusu. Meanwhile, Amira, chasing Autumn, saw something shocking. Autumn, still carrying Cage, snapped Cage's neck, and then turned to face her atop a rooftop. "Amira, are you going to fight me?" Cage had died at Autumn's hands. Initially, he thought Autumn was rescuing him. Surely, neither he nor Amira could stand up to Amira or Taz. But to his dismay, Autumn had no intention of saving him. He killed Cage with his own hands. If given a choice, Autumn wouldn't have killed Cage so soon. As Cage grew, he could have harvested more power from him. But Autumn feared that Cage would be slain by Amira or Taz instead, robbing him of any gain. Better to finish him himself. Amira, standing on a nearby rooftop, looked at the corpse in Autumn's hands. She didn't know why he did it, but she trusted her judgment. It wasn't just to discard a burden. "My job is just to keep you from escaping," she said. From Autumn's behavior, Amira understood she couldn't defeat him quickly, so she abandoned the idea of striking first. Instead, she would shadow him, prevent his escape. Seeing Amira take no action, Autumn calmly began accepting another gift from the Dark World, his confidence unshaken. As Autumn received the Dark World's gift, he seemed shrouded in mystery and darkness from Amira's perspective. Unaware of what transformation was taking place, Amira became instantly alert, prepared for anything. Several minutes passed. Autumn completed the second dark gift's acceptance. While far away, Taz successfully extracted memories from Perlov, confirming Perlov's betrayal and witnessing Yusu's final moments. Chapter 23. 10 centimeters. After absorbing Cage's aura to receive the gift from the Dark World, Autumn could feel the dark matter within him condensing into a 10-centimeter orb. Still facing off against Amira, Autumn suddenly smiled at her. Sensing danger, Amira instantly drew her dagger and swung it to her right. The flash of the blade gleamed like a cold moon in the dark night. However, the difference in raw power, and the sudden nature of the attack, meant her strike failed, and she was instead kicked away. Although she was knocked back, Amira wasn't seriously injured, just left slightly disheveled. Landing on the roof to Autumn's left, Amira now saw who had struck her, Taz, the very one who had earlier told her to chase Autumn. As Taz now stood where Amira had just been, Autumn smirked inwardly. Looks like Taz has discovered the truth behind Yusu's death. He glanced down at Cage's lifeless body beside him and murmured, "What a pity." Indeed, it was a pity. Cage had potential for much greater use. But the timing had forced Autumn to harvest him prematurely. Still, Autumn had no regrets. It was the optimal choice in that moment. What if Taz failed to uncover the truth about Yusu and assumed Autumn was the killer? Word had already spread across the 7th block that Autumn killed Yusu himself. But another thing pleased Autumn. Taz had clearly received the message he had left on Yusu's body. Now, Taz's body bore Autumn's Nen ability, Dark Matter Plunder. That was the price of Autumn's deal. Taz had accepted his gift and allowed Autumn's Nen ability to integrate into him. This was why Autumn sensed Taz before Amira did. It had been Autumn's smile that alerted Amira to Taz's ambush. Now, Taz had no idea that by accepting Autumn's offer, he had stepped right into his trap. The message Autumn left stated that Yusu had been sniped, something Taz linked to Barak's Nen ability, a long-range one-shot kill. Eager for revenge, Taz had suspected this might be a trap, but he had no choice. One path: continue believing Autumn was the killer, fight him, and then be slain by either Barak or Amira. The other: accept Autumn's terms, join forces, exact revenge on Barak, while Autumn kept Amira busy. Taz understood that despite appearing to have two choices, there was only one real option. Barak, who had already killed Yusu, would never let Taz leave the 7th block alive. Even if he defeated Autumn, escape was unlikely. A final battle with Barak was inevitable. "Barak, aren't you coming out yet?" Taz, burning with rage, kicked Amira aside and roared. At that moment, his aura emitted a faint blue-purple glow. But just after his shout, Taz was answered, with a Nen bullet. From 1,000 meters away, Barak, armed with an extra-long sniper rifle, had fired. Seeing Taz strike Amira, he knew the plan had unraveled. So he acted early. But Taz, alert and anticipating Barak's attack, instantly dodged the shot and simultaneously located Barak's position. Without hesitation, Taz charged toward him. As Amira prepared to act, Autumn stepped into her path. "Move," Amira demanded, drawing her dagger and glaring coldly at Autumn. But Autumn only shook his head. Enraged, Amira attacked. She had realized the plan to frame Autumn for Taz's death had failed when she saw Taz's aggression. She also guessed from their behavior that Autumn and Taz had allied. But Amira's intent to kill Taz wasn't due to loyalty to Barak. She harbored a deep, personal grudge against Taz. She simply wanted to kill him herself. If Autumn hadn't appeared, Amira would have been the blade Barak used to slay both Yusu and Taz. Now blocked by Autumn, she was seething. Her chance to kill Taz with her own hands had slipped away, and all her fury now fell upon Autumn. Autumn, in turn, released an immense aura. The dark matter in his hand shaped into a black dagger. He stood firm, offering Amira no way through. Her swordsmanship was exceptional, each blow aimed at his vital points. Though Autumn felt danger at every turn, he held his ground, parrying each strike. When Amira spotted an opening in his movements, she slashed at Autumn's neck with a blade shining cold and bright. Had it landed, Autumn would surely have died. But seeing he couldn't evade in time, Autumn retracted his dark matter dagger into his body. Then, just before the blade reached him, he wrapped his neck in a thick dark matter armor. In that crucial moment, Autumn used dark matter to shield himself. While Amira's dagger couldn't pierce the armor, the impact knocked Autumn backward. But Amira, despite repelling him, gained no real edge. Her dagger was short, she had to get extremely close to strike. As Autumn was pushed back, he twisted midair, swung his left leg, and swept Amira at the waist, forcing her to retreat. Both fighters staggered back more than 10 steps on the rooftop. Autumn, having narrowly escaped death, touched his neck with a sigh of relief. It was intact. But across from him, Amira went berserk, eyes bloodshot, burning with fury at Autumn. Chapter 24. Amira, a transmutation-type Nen user, was burning with hatred for Autumn, and now activated her ability, Spring of Hatred. She transformed her rage toward Autumn into power, releasing it throughout her body. The immense surge of aura made Autumn tremble. The power Amira now unleashed was beyond Autumn's ability to resist. He immediately attempted to retreat. But it was too late. Using her Nen, Amira had already locked onto Autumn. Wrapped in a dark green aura, she leapt high into the air, dagger raised, and charged at blinding speed. Sensing lethal danger, Autumn fled into the house next door, hoping the structure might shield him from her attack. But Autumn had underestimated the sheer destructive force of Amira's rage-fueled Nen. Boom! Her attack tore through the roof and obliterated the house, burying Autumn in the rubble. Standing on the ruins, Amira surveyed the wreckage, then turned and left, panting. Once her presence faded, Autumn shoved aside a stone slab and clawed his way out. "I nearly died," he muttered, bloodied and ragged. His remaining aura had dropped below 30%. If not for the last-second use of dark matter to reinforce the building and divert over half of Amira's power, he would have been a corpse. But even with that, Autumn was badly wounded. Meanwhile, the battle between Barak and Taz raged on. Taz, determined to kill Barak at any cost, pressed his advantage and pushed Barak back. This sudden burst of strength was largely thanks to Autumn. After Autumn's Nen ability, Dark Matter Plunder, merged with Taz's, it gave Taz's aura the annihilative characteristics of dark matter. That enhanced the destructive potential of Taz's attacks. The blue-purple glow radiating from Taz's aura was clear evidence of this transformation. But was Barak truly unable to fight back? Not at all. Though being pushed, Barak was merely biding time, waiting for Taz's momentum to fade or for Amira to arrive and assist after defeating Autumn. The possibility that Amira might lose had never crossed Barak's mind. He was well aware of her power. In truth, if Autumn had truly aimed to kill Amira, he might have had a chance. His close combat mastery of dark matter, especially its adaptive transformations, gave him potential. But once Amira activated her ability, Autumn was no match. This near-death experience woke Autumn up. No Nen user should ever be underestimated. No one could predict the limits of another's unleashed power. Before Amira activated her ability, Autumn's body, enhanced by the Dark World's gift, was superior to hers. That's why he could intercept her. But once she invoked her full strength, Autumn was forced into retreat. Originally, Autumn's plan had been to let Barak and Taz fight, then send an Amira, and finally swoop in to kill Taz himself, completing the dark matter plundering cycle. But this plan had largely failed. His deal with Taz was merely verbal, he'd only promised to stall Amira. In Autumn's eyes, Taz, who willingly accepted the fusion of Autumn's dark matter ability, had to die, and by Autumn's hand. Now, after climbing from the wreckage, Autumn didn't rest, he tracked Amira toward the battlefield where Barak and Taz were clashing. Though over 1,000 meters away, such a distance was negligible for Nen users like Amira and Autumn, they could cover it in under 30 seconds. By the time Autumn set out, Amira had already reached the battlefield. Upon seeing Barak and Taz still engaged, Amira's eyes turned red once more. The hatred she held erupted again, and she activated Spring of Hatred once more. Sensing the deadly aura approaching, Taz tried to retreat. But would Barak give him that chance? Of course not. Having waited for this precise moment, Barak launched his full-force counterattack, long prepared. Taz's face paled. Trapped by Barak's relentless assault, he realized Amira's approaching power was even greater than he'd imagined, and still growing. Now sensing victory, Barak intensified his strikes. Every punch and kick landed with purpose, and he gave the fight everything he had. In mere seconds, Taz, trying to fend off Barak while preparing a Nen defense against Amira, was already wounded. The balance of the battle flipped entirely. He was now under Barak's control. Go to hell. Amira screamed silently in her mind, her eyes blazing like a demon from the abyss. Her dark green aura surged with unstoppable force. She jumped high. That's when Barak realized, Amira's target wasn't just Taz, she intended to hit him too. His face changed instantly, but there was no time to speak, only to act. In a flash, Barak abandoned his assault on Taz and tried to escape. Chapter 25. At the moment Barak abandoned his attack, Taz, who had braced himself to endure Barak's strike while defending against Amira's blow, realized the punch wouldn't come. He immediately fled from the center of Amira's assault. Boom! Amira's dagger slashed past Taz, striking the street directly. Yet, the power in Amira's Nen aura still impacted both Taz and Barak, even though Barak was a little farther away. The erupting aura resembled a small-scale earthquake. Both men were hurled into nearby buildings, suffering serious injuries. Though Barak remained conscious, he was immobilized. Amira's main target, Taz, was unconscious and on the brink of death. When the dust settled, Amira was revealed half kneeling on the ground, using her broken dagger to prop herself up. Amira, you. At that moment, Autumn arrived at the battlefield. Seeing the three collapsed fighters, he interrupted Barak coldly. Lord Barak, please die. PFFT. As soon as Autumn spoke, a black spike of dark matter pierced Barak's forehead. Using her last ounce of strength, Amira looked at Autumn, then at Taz, relieved to see him near death. Her dagger crumbled in her hand, and she collapsed. After glancing at Amira, still in the center of the battlefield, Autumn controlled the black spike and drove it into Taz's heart. From afar, Autumn had assumed he wouldn't be able to plunder Taz, but unexpectedly, he was given the perfect opening. A ball of blue-purple light emerged from Taz's body and flew into Autumn's hands, merging with his own aura. Thus, Autumn received his third gift from the dark world that night. The ball of dark matter he could now manipulate had reached a diameter of 20 centimeters. With time to absorb the dark world's power, his strength would soon advance drastically. After receiving the third gift, Autumn stood over the unconscious Amira, looking down at her delicate face and sighing quietly. It would be a shame if Amira died. So, Autumn slung Amira over his shoulder and carried the bodies of Taz and Barak back toward the management office. Without alerting anyone, Autumn slipped inside and returned to the place he had lived for 3 months. He tossed Barak and Taz into a corner and laid Amira gently on the bed. The next morning, news of Barak's death hadn't spread yet. Though many had been disturbed by the fight the night before, no one seemed too concerned. In Meteor Street, battles were a regular occurrence. As for damages, that was the manager's responsibility. To the residents, life continued as usual. Around noon, after finishing a hearty meal, Autumn finally saw Amira wake up. As soon as she opened her eyes, Amira scanned her surroundings. Then, Autumn's voice echoed nearby, "You're awake. This is the management office." Amira sat up abruptly, staring at Autumn in disbelief. "Why didn't you kill me?" She had already noticed Taz and Barak dead in the corner. If she had remained unconscious, Autumn could have easily killed her too. But Autumn simply smiled and replied, "I just didn't want to kill you. The bodies of Barak and Taz are here. Now we have to face Elder Siegel." His tone carried a hint of melancholy. Then Amira said, "If you want to survive this, there's only one way. Show your worth to Elder Siegel." Perhaps because Autumn had saved her life, Amira told him the only path to escape punishment. Autumn had already thought of that, but the real challenge was how to meet Elder Siegel and prove his value. Frowning, Autumn turned to Amira. "Want to form an alliance? Let's leave this place, see the world outside." For Autumn, staying in Meteor Street forever was impossible. Sooner or later, he had to leave. Amira was momentarily stunned. She had never considered the idea of Autumn leaving Meteor Street. But after achieving her revenge, perhaps leaving wouldn't be such a bad choice. Of course, leaving Meteor Street wasn't easy. One needed permission from the Elders' Council. "Is the world outside exciting?" Amira asked, staring at Autumn. "I don't know. But I'm sure it's more exciting than Meteor Street. That's why I want to see it. Some things can only be understood once you've lived them, right?" Autumn could tell Amira was intrigued by the idea. "Okay. Let's go see it together," Amira replied, looking at him seriously. Autumn smiled and said, "You won't regret your decision. Then I'll leave the management office to you. Until Elder Siegel's men arrive, this place must remain stable." Amira nodded. "Got it. Thanks for your hard work." As Amira walked past him, she picked up the half-broken dagger on the table. Autumn watched her leave, then turned inward, contemplating how to survive what came next.